What's up, YouTube fam, and welcome back to Courage to Conquer. As promised, I am telling you the story of how I found out and what type of cancer I have. So let's get right into it because this may end up being a long video, and I don't want to keep y'all long, but I do want to give you the story, and I kind of have to tell you what happened first that led to the discovery. So we're just gonna jump right into it, all right? And y'all may hear some noises in the background because I'm outside today getting my sun, my vitamin D. Anyway, so go back to the year of 2016. I had relocated to Michigan from Illinois. I work in HR, and my HR career brought me here to Michigan to work for one of the big three automotive companies here. And it's actually more than three automotive companies here, but I work for one of the big three that are here. So I came in the door fresh and was getting my job done, still in training. February came, getting my job done, still in training. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was in February, I became sick. It was about the third weekend, either the second or third weekend in February. I had took myself out to do on the weekend as I normally do. On Saturdays is my self-love day, so I normally take myself to the movies and out to eat. So that's what I did. And this particular weekend actually happened to be Valentine's Day weekend. So I took myself out to eat and to the movies, came back to the house, went back out later on with some friends. We was all celebrating that we were single. So went back out, had a really good time, came home, woke up Sunday, really wasn't feeling well, but went to church, came back, and I just really wasn't feeling well. But I kind of attribute to where I was out last night and I had been drinking, and then just it's wintertime, so I could have been catching a cold. So chilled at the house all Sunday. Monday went to work, still wasn't feeling good. Started to develop a slight fever, but wasn't feeling good. Monday night ended up having some like weird dreams. Tuesday still wasn't feeling good, having even more weird dreams. Now I can't keep anything down, so I'm really doing more fluids. Wednesday comes, still not feeling well. Like I'm like at this point, bleh. Pardon me. Thursday, I'm not feeling well, and at this point, my grandmother's telling me that I probably need to go to the doctor because when I first moved to Michigan, I was staying with my grandmother. So I'm like, no, grandma, like I'm okay. I think it's just the flu. I got some type of bug. So Thursday, Friday, not feeling good. And actually, Friday, I end up calling off, and I don't call off work. So I called off work, not feeling well, but went to CVS, got like some Theraflu, some NyQuil flu, just got like a whole bunch of stuff because I'm thinking that I have the flu, and that's what's gonna knock this out. Hold on, let me kind of fix this. I don't like showing my hair. Okay, so went through the first week not feeling well. The weekend hits, not feeling well. The Sunday, my grandma's like, no, you need to go to the emergency room. And she calls my aunt, and so my aunt comes. My aunt says the same thing. We go to emergency room A. So I'm like, okay, go to emergency room A. First of all, the nurse was like the nurse from HE Double Hockey Sticks. Yeah, that place, Hades. She really was getting on my nerves. Like, I'm in extreme pain. When I'm moving, it hurts. When I'm walking, it hurts. And I'm telling her this. And she's trying to have me do all this stuff. She's like, bend over, try to touch your toes. And I'm like, it hurt. And then they do the, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does it feel? So I told her I was like about a 25. And I'm telling her that I'm in pain. And like my abdominal area is really, really sensitive. So she commences to pushing down on my stomach. And I'm like, ma'am, my stomach is really sensitive. She's like, oh, it's going to be okay. And she's pushing. And like I started screaming. So my aunt is like, "Man, what part are you not understanding? That he's in pain and you pushing on it is not helping it." So they take me back to X-ray. They do some blood work. She comes back, "Well, everything looks normal in your X-ray. I mean, it looks like some things are a little enlarged, but nothing to be harmful about. It looks more like you have food poisoning." Okay, so they give me these 2 pills. We go get my medicine, because by this time it's like a whole new day. It's Monday. Go get the medicine. I'm still not feeling well, and these dreams that I've been having for this whole week, they like crazy dreams, like I was on an acid trip or something, like rainbows and unicorns and dragons and zombies, and like it's just mad crazy. Okay, called into work on Monday. Ended up going to work on Tuesday, but I was not feeling good, so I actually end up leaving work early. Wednesday, I'm not feeling well. I uh, I did go to work for a couple of hours, but then end up leaving work, and then my aunt ended up taking me to. Um, no, she didn't take me until Thursday. Wednesday, I did end up going to work. I just end up leaving work early, go to sleep. And all this time, like my grandmother and my aunt are like, "You probably need to go back to the emergency room because it's getting like the pain is getting worse. I can barely walk." At this point, it was really hard for me to swallow, and like it looked like cottage cheese in my, like in the back of my throat, on the back of my tongue. So, end up going to sleep Wednesday night, and I end up having a dream, and in the dream it was my granny and my great great grandmother, and they're telling me I need to go. They told me that I wasn't feeling well and I needed to go to the doctor, and I'm like, "No, I'm good." And so my granny in the dream, she calls me my first and middle name and my last name, which is something that she would only do. Like she does that, she would do that when she would get my attention. I had actually lost my granny the year prior, and that would always be her way of, like, when she was serious, she would always say my first, my middle, and my last name. And so she did it, and it was crazy because in the dream, she said, when I say my whole name, and I got everybody who know me know I have this huge long name, she said it. So when I woke up on Thursday, I was like, okay, yeah, I got to go back to the emergency room. So I told my grandma and my aunt took me, but this time she just dropped me off. She didn't stay because you be in the emergency room for so long, and I was just like, well, I'll call. It makes no point for you to stay. Like, I'm at the hospital, so if something really happens, I'm at the hospital. So I get there, I'm in the emergency room for a good 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, it was like a good 4 to 5 hours. Then I finally get sent to the back. So I get sent to the back. By the time they do tests, x-rays, and everything, it's now like, it had to be like 9 or 10 o'clock. So they did the first round of tests and they didn't see anything. So then they do another round of testing and x-rays. This time they see something. So I'm like, okay. They're like, we think we know what it is, but we're not sure. We need you to do this one more test. So I do the test, and then all of a sudden, the emergency room doctor comes running through the bays and it's like, so we have to get you in surgery. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that I'm going to have surgery like tomorrow, the next morning. No, that wasn't the case. So I'm like, okay. Apparently, my appendix had ruptured, and the reason why I was having the zombie dreams was because of the bacteria in my appendix. So they rushed me to surgery. I'm trying to call my family and let them know, but that didn't happen. They ended up rushing me in, and I ended up waking up the next day in the recovery room. But apparently my family had knew because they had been trying to call me and couldn't get me, so they called the hospital, and the hospital let them know when they called that I was in surgery. So end up finding out that had end up having appendicitis. They took my appendix out, and I was in the hospital. Pardon me, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks after that, and then after that, I had to do a week of going to the hospital for it's like a blood transfusion. They like cleanse your blood, and that was due to the bacteria from my appendix getting into my bloodstream. So then I do the follow-up appointment, and then when I did the follow-up appointment, I had a fever at my follow-up appointment and I almost passed out. So then they admitted me to the hospital. Then once they admitted me to the hospital, they started doing all these different tests because they were trying to figure out why I had this fever and why I had so much going on, and I had this stomach pain. Oh, Grandma's back, but she's not gonna get on camera. Hi, Grandma. All right, how are you? No, YouTube it. So that's Grandma, but she's not gonna get on. She's not gonna get on camera. I'm gonna get her one of these days, though. So, yeah. So ended up that I was still having the stomach pain. They couldn't figure out what was going on with the stomach pain. At first, they thought it was because when they took my appendix out, they found out that I had it's a blood clot, but it's a special name for it because it was a big blood clot. It was about the size. It was smaller than a tennis ball, but larger than a golf ball. So that tells you about the size that it was. So initially they thought that's what was giving me issues, but it would hurt like when I went to the bathroom, whether I was doing one or two. If I had gas, like it was hurting. It would hurt like so bad, and then I was real still tender to the touch. So they did a bunch of blood work. They did some X-rays, and they weren't seeing anything. So then they had me go to a gastro. All this, now mind you, all this I'm in the hospital still. So they had me go to a gastro doctor. The gastro doctor did what's called an upper and lower endoscope. So the first thing they did was they put this long tube down my throat, and it goes down the throat, and it looks at like your throat tract. So they went down and they did see some things, and they kind of concerned them, but they wouldn't tell me like what it was. So then they did the upper and lower, and this one, what they do is they take it's almost like how they do the throat. It's a long wire thing with a camera at the end, but this time they do it up the rectum. So it goes up the rectum. Mind you, I'm asleep the whole time, so they put me to sleep first. So I'm asleep, and then they put it up, and then it goes and looks at your intestines and your stomach and all that. And so what they seen was that I had my small and my large intestine were infected. And I can never get which one was which, but one was 87% and one was 92% that was infected with cancer. And then my stomach, they seen tumors in my stomach. So what ended up happening was the doctor ends up coming in, and the doctor he came in and he said, so we know what's going on. I know we kind of talked about that it could be cancer. The tests have come back after doing biopsies on everything, and you do have cancer. I have what? Me? Cancer? So then it was, okay, what type of cancer? So then they said stomach cancer. So now I'm like, really? Stomach cancer? Like, how do I have stomach cancer? Because at this time I was very health conscious. I wasn't doing red meat. I was drinking black water, and I ran in the mornings and in the afternoons. Like, that was my thing. So I'm like, I'm healthy. Like, how did I get cancer? How did I get stomach cancer? I don't do fast food. I've never really been a person that did fast food like that. I was brought up having cooked meals. Like I would want to go to fast food places, and I'm be like, no. I mean, certain fast, like on the weekends maybe we would get fast food, but it really wasn't. We really didn't do fast food. My whole childhood, and then even into my adulthood, I really didn't do fast food. So I'm really like how did I get stomach cancer? I mean, now I do have a history of cancer in my family, but it's not stomach cancer. Like I've had prostate cancer and breast cancer in my family. So initially it was shock, grief, and then determination. And I remember because when I found out my mother was she was here, and like I started crying, but it wasn't like a boo-hoo cry. It was more of like someone just told you something. You know how like you get like the tears in the corner of your eye. That's what it was, and it was. I think it was part of. I knew that I was sick, but I didn't know I was that sick. And then to hear them say it, it's just like wow. And then you think about, for me, I thought about like all the movies that I've seen that had like cancer in it, and then it was just like okay. And then my mom saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, if I could take it I would. And I'm like, what you mean if you could take it you would? Because then we'd be dealing with you having cancer, then I'd still be crying. Like, but it's just that whole thing. It's a mother's love. A mother always wishes she could take away that pain. And it was painful to hear the diagnosis, but at the same time it was relief. And then it was like, so like I think that initially that first day or first night when I was told, it was like okay, but I got out of it really quickly. And then my godmother, I think it was like 10 minutes later after finding out, like my godmother walked in, so she ended up finding out, and then I kind of had to tell everybody. And at first, I didn't tell everybody. I really just only told close family, and then I would try to be real careful when I was talking. I didn't want it to. I didn't want to alert people. I think is the word that I'm looking for. I didn't want to alert people. Dang it! I just said I was doing so good. Anyway, so you go through that whole initial shock. You go through that whole disbelief and kind of fear, and then it's that determination. So then it was like, you know what? It's okay. We got this. We're going to beat this. You're like, okay, so what are my next steps? What do I have to do? So the first thing they did was, mind you, I'm still in the hospital. So the first thing we did was we did radiation, because while I was in the hospital, I had developed some sores on my feet. So, and now come to find out that was part of the that came from the cancer. And so I did radiation first, where they treated my feet and they treated my stomach. And then we discussed chemo. So initially, my initial plan for chemo was 6 treatments. And I was kind of worried about chemo because, again, I go off of everything that I've seen at the movies, and I went off a little bit of from my experience with relatives who had chemo, and I just think it wasn't. I never seen them really sick. I would just see them tired, and then from the movies, I seen the whole sick portion of it. Like throwing up and vomiting and the loss of hair. So that's what I was expecting with the chemo. So the first how chemo started was I did radiation. After radiation, I had to have a port put in. And so basically what a port is so they don't have to continuously give you IVs, which kind of worked out well for me because I don't do good with needles. I hate needles. I tell nurses all the time, when I go in, you get one poke and one poke only. After that, that's it. You got to find somebody, bring in an expert or whatever. But anyway, they give you a port. And I don't know if you can see it because I have this shirt on, but if you ever see me out and about and you see like a little stick out right here, that's my port. And basically, it just makes it easier for them to. They don't have to give me any IV. I put this ointment on an hour to 30 minutes beforehand. I put it on. I put some like a plastic sheeting over it, and then when I go to chemo, they take it off, and then they can stick the needle down in there, and I don't feel it. So easy peasy, cool. So my first chemo treatment, I go and they kind of explain how it works. So it's you go in the room, they take the sheeting off, they wipe off the ointment, and then they stick this needle in you. And it's kind of a long needle because it has to go in your port. I try not to look when they do it. They have me look the other way because if I see it, I start to go a little bit. But it doesn't hurt at all. A lot of times I didn't even feel it when it went in because I had the numbing cream on. So then that's the first part of chemo. Then they take you into this room. It's like a huge room, and they have these big comfy chairs. And then at the big comfy chairs, they have their own individual TV. And then you have like another chair, a regular hospital chair that's right there next to you. So whoever came with you can sit down and be comfortable too. But you have the more comfortable chair because it's really big and plush, and you sit in it. And then they wait for your chemotherapy medicine to come up. Now, the thing that shocked me was I didn't know that it was so many different types of chemotherapy medicines. I just thought it was one, but there are different types, and then they have different colors. So my first chemo round, I had the pink chemotherapy medicine. So my medicine was pink. And it was pink because it was also the same one they used for breast cancer as well. So they hooked me up to it, and then I sat in the chair for about an hour and 45 minutes. And then afterwards, they take everything out, and then they give me a Neulasta, which is this little arm border that goes on the back of my arm. And that's basically so I don't have to come back to the hospital the next day and get a shot. Again, I don't like needles, so that's the best thing for me. And the Neulasta, it's not painful at all. It's a little, like, I think it's 26 hours after you finish your chemo. So if I finish my chemo at, I'll say 5 o'clock on Friday, because my chemotherapy was always on Friday. So on Saturday at 7 p.m., it would be this little click. It would go click, click, and then it would give me the medicine from the Neulasta, and then I would be good. So my side effects from the chemo, I didn't lose hair the first time. And I really didn't have a loss of appetite. So I really did pretty well on my chemo. The only things that happened was I had a day where, the second time I went for treatment, I had an allergic reaction and didn't know. I just thought I had the chills because it was cold. But they said it was an allergic reaction. So they found out that they had to give me my chemo slower than what they were giving it to me. So that happened. Like I said, that was on the second treatment. And then after that, it was pretty good. The only side effects that I had were on the third day is when my body would hurt. So I would be good Friday the day of, Saturday the day after I would be good. But on that Sunday is when it would start to take effect. Like my body would just hurt. My muscles would hurt. So like my legs and my arms. And I really wouldn't want to get up because I would be in pain. And then I had one day where I was brushing my hair and a bunch of hair fell out, but you couldn't tell. Now you can tell after this last chemo treatment that I had, this last round of chemo treatment that I had this year. So the first time I went through chemotherapy treatment, I went from, I want to say I started in May of 2016, and then I stopped. Originally, I was supposed to stop in November. So I did stop in November, Things weren't looking good, but then I started back up. I believe it was that January. It may have been that January that I started back up. Mind you, every chemo appointment that I had, my mom would drive from Illinois to Michigan so that she could be at my chemo appointments with me. So the first set she was there, and then the second time when I went, which was still part of that first set of chemo treatment, I just had a little break. Then I went, yeah, so it was from May to November. Then I stopped, and then I started back up. And then I think it was from January, I want to say from like January to May or June 2017. So then everything went good after that. I ended up going into remission where everything was really good. So the end of 2017, 2018 were really good for me. And then career-wise, I was doing really well too. And then towards the end of 2018, I started getting ill again. And found out that it had come back. The big C had come back. So we had started getting me prepared for chemotherapy again. One of the things that they have to do is they have to check your levels. So that's like checking your iron and your red blood cell count and your white blood cell count and some other things. So you have to get this blood drawn. And so at first my blood was not, when they did the blood draw, everything was really low and then we needed to bring them up. So I did the alkaline diet. And the alkaline diet is basically this diet that you do it helps boost your immune system. And so I went through that. And that was actually this year because I actually just got off of inpatient chemo in August. So like all of August, actually, take that back. The beginning of August, I went in for a doctor's appointment. And when I went in for that doctor's appointment, the doctor's appointment was on a Monday. Mind you, I had been sick this whole year. The beginning of 2019, I really got ill. And I had been, like I would walk, and when I walked like I was drunk, because I would walk off to the right. So I went in August for let me back that up. The problem had been, the walking problem and the headaches that I had been having have been going on for a while. I did go to the doctor previous to August, so I don't want it to be like, oh, he went all the way to August. No, I went in previous to August. Initially what was told to me was that I had an inner ear infection because I went to urgent care, and that's what they said. So I just chopped it up too. That's why I was walking the way I was walking, because I had an inner ear. Well, the issue was still going on, and with the issue still going on, I ended up scheduling another appointment. So when I scheduled that appointment, my doctor did a whole bunch of blood work, as they normally do. And then that appointment was on Monday. Tuesday, they had called to tell me that I needed to be admitted into the hospital. And so that would probably be really good if I was in Michigan. But I wasn't in Michigan. I was in Illinois. So we had to get me back to Michigan so I could be admitted. And so I was in the hospital for might as well say all of August. I had contracted an infection, and the infection unfortunately had spread to my brain, and which was causing me to have vision issues and mobility issues. Who's in the hospital? Oh, okay. All right. Give my love. That's Grandma. She's leaving me again. But, okay, going back. So, this August, again, they had told me that I needed to be admitted. So, we had to give me back. And then my two cousins, who are like my brother and sister, because we're so close, they drove me because we didn't want to put me on a plane because we didn't know how severe the infection was. They drove me back to Michigan, checked into the hospital. At first, they couldn't figure out the infection. Then they figured out the infection. Not only did I have this infection, but I also had meningitis. And it was crazy because they kept asking me, they kept going, have you been traveling? And so I had been traveling because the earlier part of the year, due to my job in HR and my realm of HR, which is recruitment, engagement, and retention, I travel. Going to career fairs and college fairs, things of that nature. I had been traveling, and so I did not. I didn't think that I had picked anything up, but apparently that's what we're figuring. That's how I picked up meningitis doing all that traveling. So I have this infection and I have meningitis. So they give me all these antibiotics, and I'm in the hospital for all of August of this year. And at the same time they're doing that, I'm getting inpatient chemotherapy. And so with inpatient chemotherapy, what they would do is I would get chemo twice a day. So that was chemo in the morning when I first woke up, and then chemo at night before I went to bed. So I did that I was in the hospital for like 3.5 weeks, and I did that for about 2.5 weeks. I did the chemotherapy treatment. I am still recovering from all of that. So a lot of times, like, you will see me doing a video or something, or like throughout the day you'll see me doing videos, and that's because I'm currently not working, but I'm not working because I'm still getting over the infections that I had. But I'm ready to go back to work so bad, because you get tired of being in the house. And like my doctor would be like, oh, well, you really can't be around people. And you'd be like, so he's like, yeah, so no visitors. Tell them to FaceTime you. Tell them to send you a text, but don't come by. And I'm like, that's not me. But that is my story. That is how we found out that I had cancer. That's kind of a little bit up to date of what's going on with my cancer now. I just finished chemotherapy again. This time it affected me a little worse. Chemo did. My eyebrow, I've lost hair on my eyebrows, so my eyebrows are real thin. And you'll see me always kind of like with a hoodie or a hat on, because I have patches in my head where they're like bald, and I'm learning to own it. I'm learning. It's a process. I'm learning that I'm not my hair or anything like that, but it's an adjustment for me. So yeah, that is my story. That's up to date to where my prognosis and diagnosis is right now. I have stomach cancer, and we are fighting it. The hope and prayer is that it does not spread. I just had a doctor's appointment this week, actually on Monday. My doctor did say, the hope and prayer is that it doesn't spread. One of the areas that they are afraid that it will spread to is my brain, where I could develop a tumor or lesion, because they call it tumors, they call it lesions. That I could spread one there, especially after just having the brain infection that I had. So we are keeping a close eye on it. They kind of talked to me about a lesion or a tumor forming on my brain, and then at that point we really would not be able to do anything. And I let them know right then and there that we're not putting that in the atmosphere, that it's all positive vibes and energy, and we're not going to think about that. If it does happen, that's fine and dandy. I am okay. I am perfectly fine. I do have my moments where it be like, oh, again. But that's why I stress the importance of having a support system. And like I said on my last video, when I get into those moments where I can't pull myself back, I have a great support system of my family and my friends. It's really, really especially my family, because my family is a little bit more around me than my friends. So they kind of notice things before anybody else and kind of do things before then. But I am okay. We are all good. I'm in the best of spirits. I am right now a little drowsy and weary because they have me on some new medicine, but all is well. Again, if you don't have a support system, get your support system. If you're dealing with an illness, I don't care if it is a critical illness, if it's a mental illness, talk to somebody. As I stated before, you can always reach out to me, drop me a message, send me some comments below. Oh, and then I want to shoot one more thing by y'all before I let y'all go. So, I get on here and I say, what's up, YouTube fam? I don't want to say that, and so I was thinking about calling y'all my kings and queens or my warriors. Drop some comments below and let me know what you think about that. And then I think I'm through today for this video because I need to take a nap. But as always, love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, share. And thank you for joining me on my journey. I'll get back to y'all again with another video. Hopefully I'll drop another video today. If not today, tomorrow. And again, if I kind of lag in between, it's just due to because I'm probably tired and I have the videos, but I just haven't uploaded it yet. All right. Again, love you. Peace. Talk to you soon. Courage to conquer. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff below.